Trauma is not only what happens to you, is what was supposed to happen to you, but it didn't happen to you.
It's an emotional experience that was not completed. There's a part of you that is stuck in time, and we need to go back and actually complete that emotional experience.
How you get to the trauma if you don't work with the body? Just working with a therapy who's just talking and talking is not gonna make it.
You see a lot of people who go to therapy for years, nothing really changes, or okay, they start understanding why they have the trauma or what happened and what mom said and why is it impacting them today, why they keep getting stuck in the same dysfunctional relationships, but they can't solve it. They can't heal the wound.
If I have the best performance, people are gonna see me. Therefore, they're gonna love me.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Raw, Real, and Radiant with Claire Poho, where we talk about the juicy stuff, the messy, the human, the too much, as well as the fun things. Today I'm bringing you a raw, unscripted conversation about trauma and healing with holistic psychologist Belu. Belu and I met here in Colombia, and we quickly realized that we had a lot in common. And so we decided to sit down for a chat, and at some point I thought, let's hit record just in case. So I'm going to be upfront. This is not a tightly structured podcast episode, and it's not an interview. It's a laid-back, soul-deep, honest conversation between two women who have lived trauma, walked their own healing journeys, and now support others in doing the same. It may be unpolished, but it's real and full of valuable insight. There's truly a lot of depth and information that goes beyond the usual trauma and healing conversation. A quick note so you can listen with awareness and choice. We talk openly about trauma, including childhood trauma and relational trauma. We talk about unmet needs, we touch on eating disorders, and we also discuss feminine and masculine energetics. If at any point you feel the need to pause, slow down, or come back later, please do honor that. We talk about the intersection of psychology and spirituality and the bridge of these two in healing, the insufficiency of understanding only approaches to healing, and why the body and nervous system have to be part of the process. What's interesting is that we didn't plan to go this deep. We simply started talking, and very quickly we bonded over a shared passion for healing and living consciously. Belu spent many years working strictly with scientific and clinical psychological frameworks until she reached a point where she realized something essential was missing. After her spiritual awakening, she realized it was her path to bridge psychology with spirituality and help women heal holistically. You can find her and her work on Instagram at Akara Psychology. And now, let's hear her story.
I started traveling around Colombia, went to Choco, went to the north, Amazon, everywhere, and then got to Medellin, and I was like, feeling something here. I don't know, everything started working very well for me. So I decided to stay, and things started happening for me without planning.
That's how it goes.
And then I started meeting people like you, or people very connected with their souls. So I was like, this is my place. I think this is my people. So yeah, I've been traveling for a year. But now I wanted to mix a bit of my, obviously, background as a psychologist. And that's what I do as my profession, plus my spiritual world. I used to do that as a hobby, as my own healing journey. But then when I got to Medellin, I was like, I can mix it all. I can put it all together. I can still be a therapist and be connected with my spirituality. I was a bit scared of mixing both worlds. My psychological background is scientific. And then on the other side, I was doing my ecstatic dance and my ceremonies and the full moon and all this. And people were like, yeah, but why you believe in all this if you're a psychologist? And yeah, this year, after thinking a lot about it, I was like, well, I can make these two together. I can have my base on psychology because I work mainly with trauma. And for me, my spiritual world has been so healing for my own trauma. So not everything has to be ABC, not everything has to be science. Of course, I use my background and my biological concepts or information or knowledge on how the body works, how my brain works. And I'm glad I've got that. But now I thought, well, I can put it all together to heal all the people who's been through trauma like me, like I was. I was through trauma 3 years ago, and I'm healed now thanks to obviously a bit of psychology because I did my therapy, but also that spiritual world helped me massively.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just wanted to mix both, and I think I'm doing it now. So that's why I started organizing this retreat, mixing both trauma, how trauma is stored in your body, but also practices of yoga, meditation, mindfulness, cacao ceremony. That's the way I heal. So I just want more women to heal the way I did because it's possible.
It doesn't go against science, right? When you look into it, there's scientific evidence for everything. But I think that's the biggest challenge. It's like Wi-Fi. Like, we know Wi-Fi works, but you don't actually know how it works. So,
Yeah.
like, why do you believe in Wi-Fi when, like, there is explanation for everything? It's just this, like, obsession of the rational mind to just grasp onto everything and understand in a very rational, linear way. But, like, our minds don't even have a way of understanding all of this and its complexity. And, I also come from a very academic background, not in this field. Studied politics, social sciences, international relations, and all that, but also extremely academic. I went to very elite schools for years and years in different countries. And I have a friend who's doing a PhD in neuroscience, and we spent some time together. Her sister, she's having some like serious mental health issues. So she's very curious how the brain works and how mental health works. But when I start saying something, she's curious, but then she's like, oh, but like, what's the scientific explanation? I just don't get it. And I can see how there's just these barriers implanted from the academic background. Do you know Gabor Mate?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah. I told her about him. She was like, yeah, I read something from him and it just didn't seem scientific enough. The audiobook is like 20 hours and there's stories and stories and stories from experience in hospitals. It's just like, yeah, I appreciate the challenge of bridging these two when you're so entrenched in the academic scientific approach where it's like, no, this is too woo-woo, like, we're not gonna, but yeah, it's beautiful when we can link both. And I think it's a huge part of the journey, just learning to let go a little bit and being okay with not knowing or being okay with not understanding. Because that's just one of the many survival mechanisms that we have. It's clinging on to the mind and understanding everything and making sense of everything, where we can never understand everything. Like, just the universe works in so many unpredictable ways. And if we try to just understand everything and rationalize everything, like, good fucking luck, right?
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. But it's difficult for people coming from my background in psychology. We've been
Absolutely.
told, science and science is everything, and which are the best methods for healing clients and for working with patients with anxiety and depression. And there's a whole book with like therapists and which of them are working, which of them are not working, which of them are working sometimes. And it's good, and I know that book very well, and I use it here and there for some bits. But then when it comes to trauma, I feel all therapies I tried before, none of them were enough. Yeah, a bit of therapy here and there for anxiety and depression, if you've been through trauma, could help you with some symptoms of anxiety, insomnia, depression, yeah. But the trauma is still there. How you get to the trauma if you don't work with the body? So just working with your voice and just working with a therapy who's just talking and talking is not gonna make it to work on the trauma. It's not gonna work. And I had that experience in myself, it was very like, no, like I'd use the best method in psychology for healing my own trauma. Then I've realized that was not enough. And it's when I started working with my body, because that trauma was stored in my body. And I had triggers here and there, and I did not understand it. I was just like, why am I getting triggered by chopping onions or by doing this? I was getting triggered randomly.
Wow.
And the trauma was here. The trauma was all here. I was getting very croaky voice. When I was getting anxious, I didn't understand it. And I feel more people with my background or more people in my field, we are coming closer to this other world. And I feel it's great that we're all doing that. And I feel most of the people I know at the moment who are working with trauma, they felt the same. They felt that working with traditional methods in psychology was not enough. Working with cognitions, working with behavior was not enough. Was okay, but not enough to heal the root of it. Therapists, we were not getting to the root. And now, thanks to these other, now we are getting into the root, and more therapists are now using what we call non-traditional methods. So we're working with the body, we're working with the imagination, we are working with creativity. I'm even using intuition creativity in my therapy sessions. I'm using not only writing, but maybe drawing, or maybe even working with like Playmobil or working with Lego for people to understand where they are, where they want to be, who is their mom, why mom treated you like that. That's why you are like this now. So all therapists like me, we are coming closer to this world, and I feel it's the only way to heal trauma.
Yeah. Because like you said, it's stored in the body. You see a lot of people who go to therapy for years and nothing really changes. Or, okay, they start understanding themselves. They start understanding why they have the trauma or what happened and what mom said and why is it impacting them today, why they keep getting stuck in the same dysfunctional relationships, but they can't solve it. They can't heal the wound and they can't overcome it, because when you're approaching the problem from the mind, you're just viewing from the mind, but it's an energetic problem, like it's stuck in the body. First and foremost, you need to feel safe. How I understand trauma, it's an emotional experience that was not completed.
Exactly.
So it got stored, and there's a part of you that is stuck in time in that moment, and we need to go back and actually complete that emotional experience. And that can look like crying or screaming or shaking or, whatever it is. And somehow it's going to come out. And when we don't feel safe, when somebody's talking to us only from their rational mind, we never feel safe to go into our emotions. We just don't feel safe because we need to be embodied. And so, if you're just talking to somebody from your mind and trying to rationalize it and explain it and fix them or tell them what to do, it never feels safe. And we can never fix it. We don't need to be fixed, actually. We just need to be witnessed and feel safe. And then we can start going into these deeper layers and into this trauma and these emotions stored in the body. And then we can start processing it and releasing it. And that's the only way. Like, we don't actually even have to understand it. Like, it helps to understand it, but we don't even have to understand it. And I've had so many sessions, group healing, where me or other people are crying and feel sadness and you don't even know why. Or sometimes it's pre-verbal, the trauma, so we don't even have language for it, but the feeling, it's there, right? I always say it almost doesn't matter what method you're trained in, if you're some sort of a therapist or even body worker, or if you work with sound healing. If you can hold tremendous space for people, the method almost doesn't matter. Like, your quality of space holding and ability to make people feel safe is a million times more important than if you have mastered the best, I don't know, release, whatever therapy. But if people don't feel safe with you, it could even re-traumatize them, right?
That's the key, safety. Safety is the key for everything, because you had an experience where you were not feeling safe enough. You felt you were not enough. So creating spaces where the clients, the patients, the participants are feeling safe, are feeling good enough, are feeling enough, then is creating a space where they can release that trauma from their body. Obviously, as you said, understanding what happened to them, why they feeling this, why they feeling that, is also important, but you don't need to rationalize everything. However, I feel that we live in a society where we are trying to rationalize everything, and we are not connected anymore with our bodies. We just live in here. And most of the connections we've got inside our bodies, they come bottom to the brain. So they come from down to up there, 80% of the connections. So the body's constantly telling us how it's feeling all the time. But we are deciding not to pay any attention to our bodies. And we are very disconnected from it. We don't even know when we are hungry anymore, if we are tired, because we are already working, because we have to be productive. So because of that disconnection between mind and body, then I feel it's difficult for people to release that trauma, or even to identify that they've got something stored in their bodies. So the body starts telling them, I'm not okay. For example, with allergies, autoimmune diseases, even cancer, it's telling them, I'm not okay. But people decide to ignore it. And then the body starts screaming. And then it's when the body starts getting ill. And people are like, oh, I don't understand that. Well, you've been disconnected from your body for so many years. And that's why your body now is screaming. It's telling you to stop. It's telling you to pay attention. But I don't feel this world where we live in now is promoting that to happen. It's not promoting us to be more connected with ourselves, with our needs, even more connected to the world, to nature, or to other people. I feel in this world we are very connected through social media, laptops, phone. Lately, I've been feeling very disconnected. We're very disconnected from people, from life, from our own needs. And I feel that's not just happening to me. I feel that's happening to loads of people. We're more isolated, even though we're more connected through social media or internet.
Everybody has trauma, but most people are not aware, or they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to think about it.
The world is designed to put away our feelings. So it's kind of easy in this world to go out and drink alcohol, or go out and have a smoke, or go out shopping, or have loads of sex. I don't know. It's just so easy to put away all those emotions. But I always say that it's like the same when you are in a pool and you need to grab a ball. And that ball, you need to put it under water. And you can hold it for so long, of course. But then at some point, that ball is going to come up because you can't hold it that long. You won't be able to do that. So yeah, for some years you could be like, oh yeah, I'll go out. Every time I feel anxious, I can be like, I'm just going to go online shopping, or I'm just going to date few people. And yeah, you can do that. And those are your attempts of solution of that, whatever you're feeling, of that pain that you're feeling. But long term, it's not going to work. Long term, those attempts of solutions that you're looking for by drinking and stuff, it's just not going to work, because the pain is not going to go. The pain is going to still be with you unless you open your heart, you talk to the pain, you see what's going on there. And that's not easy, obviously. That's not going to be done in few sessions. That's not going to be done in one retreat for 3 days. It's not going to be done in that time, obviously not. It's a long-term commitment that you need to do with yourself. If you want to be free, if you want to live your life in harmony, in peace.
Yeah.
And it's difficult, and it takes courage, and it takes to be very brave to take that step, I feel. But if you are committed with your happiness, if you are committed with yourself, and if you're also committed with your people, because that's also affecting your people. If you're a person who's been through a lot of trauma, your people are going to be affected by it hugely, because you're going to be, well, maybe having moments of rage sometimes, and your people will have to suffer that, or you will feel anxious and then you will have a bit of passive aggressive communication with them. There's no need for them to deal with you. There's no need. It's not their fault that you've been through some sort of trauma. So I feel it's also your responsibility with yourself, but also responsibility with your people, with your friends, with your family, with your children, so you don't pass that generational trauma into your children. It's not fair.
It's hard, right? Because then we have all this resentment towards our parents that they passed us all this trauma, but really, then you realize, yeah, they've just been doing the best they could, and they didn't know any better, and chances are they didn't go to a parenting school. They didn't know they had trauma. They had it way worse growing up. It's hard, right? I did a podcast episode about this, reparenting ourselves, and how to come to terms with the fact that trauma occurred when we were being raised and growing up. And I think it's almost inevitable that once you come to this realization, there's going to be anger and resentment and blame. But at the same time, coming to terms with this, like, oh, but like my parents really did the best they could. Of course, there's people who were abused or had terrible childhoods, but a lot of us had really good childhoods, and that doesn't prevent us from experiencing an incredible amount of trauma, even though, our parents were there physically, maybe they just weren't there emotionally, right? Feel like a safe space for us. And so coming to terms with these most like opposing facts, yes, this happened, and how can I find compassion, but at the same time, not deny or minimize what has happened, because it has shaped us, it has impacted us, and it's, for most of us, still impacting us to this day. And it's really what you said. You're not going to resolve these issues in one retreat, and that's something that I'm very adamant about, because, I've also hosted retreats, and I definitely plan to host more retreats, and I think that's something tremendous that somebody can do for themselves, but you cannot expect that you go to one retreat and it's going to solve your entire life. And I just recorded a podcast episode with a friend. We went and did very deep ayahuasca journey, and I asked him about his experience, because I know he had a very profound experience. And he's like, look, I can't tell you that I went and I had one experience and it changed my life and now I'm enlightened. Like, no, that's really not what happened. And he's like, I go on the internet and I see these people who are like, oh my God, I did one ayahuasca ceremony and, it solved all my issues and now I feel fucking enlightened and I healed all my trauma and whatnot. And I guess, it can happen to somebody, right? And there's people who have had spontaneous awakenings like Eckhart Tolle or Michael Singer. Like one day they're just like, oh, now I'm in, So it can happen, but it's extremely rare. Like that has not been my experience. It has not been my friend's experience who has done a lot of ayahuasca and seen a lot of things. It's a journey, right? And one day you'll have a massive breakthrough and you think, wow, my entire experience of life has completely transformed, and you have this immense amount of well-being in your system. And then 1-2 years later, if you continue on this path, you'll look back and you're like, wow, I thought that was a lot of well-being. Like, you can't even compare it with the amount of well-being that you cultivate 2 years later, right? If you keep consistent with the practices and with whatever tools you use, if it's meditation or therapy or whatever it is, right? But it's a journey. And so that's why, I'm passionate about hosting retreats and crafting experiences for people. And it's extremely powerful to be present with somebody in person. There's a different intensity to the work and to the experience and sort of like an immediacy. But now I am really focusing on online programs, which last several months, because what I find is that, you have one experience and it can be transformative, but you experience a lot in a short period of time and it takes you time to fully get into it. And then, if you're being taught new information, like you can't even process it that quickly. Whereas if you're in this container over an extended period of time and then you get to go back to your daily life and then things happen in your life, right? Like shit's gonna come up, right? In your relationship, in your job, in your health. You're not gonna sleep well for a few days. You're gonna be cranky, then shit's gonna come up. And then you go back to the practices and then you have consistent calls, support group. You're part of a community where you're being taught new things, but also constantly the repetition and reminders, right? Because it's like, we've all heard these things like, oh, be more kind to yourself. Like, what does that even mean, right? Like, then you're going to not do something or go out and stay late. And then the next day you feel like shit and you're exhausted and you drink too much coffee. And then you're going to like, oh, why did I do this? Now I feel like shit and I'm tired and my body feels like shit. And so like in that moment, you don't remember, wait, I should be compassionate with myself. I think that means that right now I shouldn't be judging myself for having done, like you don't come up with that stuff, but it's like you come and somebody's like, hey, like this is how you apply being compassionate with yourself in your daily life. Like something happened. Now, how would that look if you were just a little bit more compassionate with yourself today? And you learn slowly and you implement it, right? And you have people pointing things out for you and reminding you, and you have a community and you have a safe space to be held and to share with others and to have others hold space for you. And so for me personally, all of my healing pretty much has happened in community. And I don't know where I would be if I did not have a community and had not worked with coaches and being supported, because again, the safety piece, trauma happened with the presence of other people. And at some point, our bodies, our minds, our nervous system learned that it is not safe to be around other people, or it is not safe to be vulnerable or express our emotions in front of other people. And so we need to actually rewire our nervous system that it actually can be safe. You cannot heal something that is relational without the presence of another, and actually be like, hey, listen, you thought it was not safe? Let's just dip our toes in. Let's just see if I can open up. We think that if we start showing the parts of ourselves that, are angry or sad or whatever, we think that these parts of ourselves, they're unlovable. And that if we show these parts, we are unlovable and love is going to go away, connection is going to go away. And as humans, through the evolutionary process, we are wired for connection. Literally for our simple reptilian brain, it is literally a matter of survival, right? If connection goes away, I could die. When we were hunters and gatherers, you needed to live in community. If you were left alone, you would die. Or as a little child nowadays, right? If your parents leave you, you're going to die because you can't feed yourself. It's literally a survival instinct to keep connection. This instinct just kicks in and would do anything. Like, no, like I'm just going to people please because that's going to keep me safe, right? And so we need to learn slowly, progressively. From my experience, it doesn't happen overnight. That one day I'm like, no, like I could never cry in front of somebody. And then the next day it's like, you know what? They told me it's fine. So I'm just going to, like, it just doesn't happen like that, right? Even if you try to will it with your mind, like the body has its own intelligence and its own pacing. And it's not going to let you do the thing that you're trying to, like, if you're trying to force, it's not how it works. The more you're trying to speed up the healing process, or even open some spiritual gifts or intuitive gifts, ironically, the slower it's going to be, because you're trying to effort or force some sort of a result and you have an agenda. And whereas on the other hand, if you're just kind of relax into the process and you trust that the body has its own intelligence, it happens in the pacing, in the time, in the sequence that it needs to happen, and it's not linear, right? When you look in nature or even human conception, like you become pregnant with a baby and there's a divine intelligence that takes care of everything. You don't have to be like, okay, today it's week this, so I'm gonna grow a toe. You know, like today it's this, you know, point in time. So now we're gonna like divide these cells and grow hair or what, you know, like we have no fucking idea what the fuck is going on, right? And it works, right? And the body just has this divine intelligence and everything happens in its right time. And I think, you know, we have all this amazing medicine, which is truly amazing, and the progress that we've had in science and biology and medicine, but sometimes we think that we're now smarter than the body and the natural intelligence that we have, and that we can outsmart it, and that we know better how quickly we should heal, you know, how it should look like. But we truly don't. Like, we have no idea how these things happen, right? So I think healing, for sure, I would say the key pillars for me personally would be trust in the process, safety, like you said, and community, relation to another that feels safe and that I can lean against and create this relationship. I think without these pillars, you're not going to get very far in this process.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. And also, just to add to what you said, the intuition, right? When you are talking about body knows, we should be more connected with our intuition. And that intuition comes from the feminine energy, from the right side of our brains. I call it feminine energy, but that's also based on science. We know that creativity, intuition, going with the flow comes from that side of our brains. And I feel with time, we've been forgetting about that side of the brain. We haven't been working enough on it. We haven't been paying attention to that intuition. Our body knows well, as you said. But it's difficult when you've been through some trauma to trust your body again, to trust that you are safe, to trust that you are safe in your body. That's a huge achieve, knowing that you can trust your body knows better, to trust your intuition. If you tell some people to just trust the intuition, they're going to be like, what intuition? They don't even know what you're talking about, because there's no scientific base on that. But I feel we are all experts on that. We can all be like that. And I feel we're born like that. When we are babies, we know exactly what we need. Our body knows exactly when we are hungry, when we are tired, when we need more water, when we are in pain. And we communicate that through our body, through crying, because that's the way we know how to communicate things. But I feel at some point we just disconnect from all this, from our intuition, and we go into our masculine energy. And I feel this world is promoting that to happen even more, just to trust more our masculine energy, to be more on the what to do instead of what you feel. So that also is linked to, well, we are not feeling what we feel, we are not connected to our feelings, so we are just more in a productive way of life. And that's what we are all doing more. We are more connected with our masculine energy rather than our feminine energy. And I feel we should all have more of a balance between both of them. Even if you are like CEO of whatever company, yeah, of course you need your masculine energy, because you need to put it all in paper, what you're going to do. You are a business person, and of course you need that energy. But how are you going to improve that energy if you don't have a balance with your feminine energy, with your ideas, with your intuition, with connection with the world, with nature, with others, with yourself? So balance is key in all this. And in terms of what you said about retreats and waking up, and yeah, of course, these retreats, they can wake people up. I've seen it myself. I had festival recently with a friend. She's very scientific. She's been through some mental health issues for the last 15 years. And yes, she's done therapy. She understands everything is going on with her body. She's completely disconnected from her body. She doesn't even know when she's hungry. She's suffering with anorexia. So she doesn't even know anymore when she's hungry, when she needs to go to bed. She can be sleeping 4 hours and be like, I'm good to go. She does not know anything about her body. Anyway, we went to this festival and we did everything from cold water therapy to repair. We did ecstatic dance. We did cacao ceremony, mindfulness. And that was the first time in her life she apologized to me. She said, I'm so sorry. You've been talking about energies. You've been talking about connection with the body. I've been always rejecting that kind of information you were providing me. And now I felt the energy. Now I felt that everything you've been telling me is true. And surprisingly, after 2 months without her period, she got her period that day. Because she had obviously no period because of her anorexia. And that day, she came on her period randomly. She was, oh, what a coincidence. And I was like, yeah, let's call it coincidence. So that was interesting to see it, to see that waking up with one of my best friends. She came from Spain to see me and she apologized to me. And I felt great that, not because she apologized, but just to see her change, just to feel that she was feeling what I was feeling, that she was feeling the energy. She touched me and she was like, I feel it now. I feel it in your body. I feel the connection. Now, luckily, our friendship is stronger. And also what I said to her, now you work hard, but now you need to keep working on this. This cannot be a one-off. This cannot be just, oh yeah, I'm awake, life is way better. No, because next day she went for a 10K run because otherwise she wouldn't be able to have lunch. You need to keep practicing, as you said. You need to keep working on yourself and keep applying everything that you learn into your daily habits. And your daily habits could be something simple, like I'm just having a shower, but I'm having a shower and I'm conscious and I'm present. But I am having a shower. I feel the water. I can smell the shampoo, whatever. We should all be applying those kind of practices into our daily life, even when we are eating. Why are we eating and we are on our phones? We are watching cereal while we're eating. You are eating, you honoring your body. You put in gasoline into your body so your body can, give everything that your body gives to you every day through creativity, through work, through everything. So small practices like those practices, being mindful, being present in small moments of your day, not every day, not all the time, because that would be a bit difficult in this life, but small moments during your daily life where you can be present. I feel that is kind of putting what we said into our daily life, into our practice, so we can keep working on our healing journey. I always say it's a journey because it takes time. It's just not, oh, as you said, I did ayahuasca, I'm awake, life is different. Well, I also did ayahuasca, and yeah, it was a great experience for me. It was a beautiful experience. I had the chance to speak to my dad and dad, and it was beautiful. I had the chance to heal some conversations I had with my mom, because as you said before, trauma is not only what happens to you, it's what it was supposed to happen to you, but it didn't happen to you. For example, when you are a kid and your parents are not emotionally available for you, they are not there the way they should be. That is trauma. And we always feel that trauma is what happens to you. Or your parents, they've been abusive at you, or they've been violent, or you've been through an earthquake. Yeah, that's also trauma. But we cannot forget that trauma is also what didn't happen.
Yeah.
And it was supposed to happen. You are supposed to be loved. You are supposed to have your parents loving you, giving you affection from the first moment. And if that doesn't happen to you, that can cause you trauma in the near future. Because you're going to have that wound. And yeah, maybe you can be like, oh yeah, but my parents were there for me. They were always there. They gave me everything. They paid my uni fees, bought me an apartment, whatever it is. But were they emotionally there when you needed them? Were they emotionally there when you were in pain? When you needed them the most? Maybe they were busy. Maybe you were not seen. And that's why maybe now you want to be so productive and be the best of the best, because you want the world to see you, because you haven't been seen. And maybe that's why you were an overachiever and you were the best of the best of the school and you were having the best grades.
That resonates.
Because that's the way you were seen. Maybe you were going back home with your best grades and your mom and dad or your parents, your carers, they were like, wow, very good. I'm so proud of you. And that was the only way for you to get their attention. That was the only way for you to be seen. So what you learn as a kid was, okay, if I do this, if I have the best grades, if I have the best performance at school, at uni, at work, people are going to see me. Therefore, they're going to love me. And that's how people learn these kind of behaviors. At some point, they're going to hurt them because people are not going to love them for what they are. People are going to love them for what they do, for what they show, because they are the best, very professional, perfectionist.
Let's pause here for a second. Because when we talk about being seen only for what we do, about love being conditional, how many of us are still living this out unconsciously? So I want to invite you to just notice for a second if anything is coming up for you right now. Because this is some heavy stuff. And it lives inside of us until we're able to release it. And that's exactly why I created my grounding and resourcing meditation. It meets you right where you're at and guides you back into the body where these patterns live. It's not a practice that tries to force healing. It doesn't push you to reconnect with your inner child, and it's definitely not a meditation that will make you feel bad for not being able to calm your thoughts. It's simply a space to reconnect with your body, to find ground, find resource, to create more safety in the body. You will not hear me guiding you to heal, but the practices I guide you through do create the conditions for deep healing to happen. It is only when the body feels grounded, resourced, and safe that healing can occur. I highly recommend doing this meditation daily because as you gradually cultivate more ground and stability in your system, your body will naturally have more capacity to process old stuff. You can find it at clairepoho.com/free-meditation or find the link in the show notes. And now let's return to the episode.
We come here and incarnate in our lifetime to accomplish something or to learn something and choose our family, we choose our country of origin, we choose all of our circumstances because these circumstances are going to facilitate the learning experience that we want to have in this lifetime. And so oftentimes something happened to us or there's just something that we don't even want to look at. But that's exactly the biggest point of friction in your life. And if you actually go into it and heal it, then you're going to learn how to solve this big problem for you. And because you're going to learn how to overcome it, then you can go towards your purpose, which is going to help others do the same, right? And so the more you heal your trauma, the more you go towards your purpose, or the more you walk towards your purpose, the more your shit's gonna come out. Let's say you want to be famous, you want to achieve something in the world and you start speaking out, but the more you put yourself out there, the more your fear of being seen and out in public comes up, right? And you're just terrified. And so the more you heal, the easier it's going to be to achieve. And so I think that's also where these things come together, right? Coming with the intention to heal our pain, to feel better, to get into better health. If it's anorexia or sleeplessness or you have a disease, the more we focus even just on that and healing our physical bodies and just being more healthy, the more you're going to be in well-being and the more you're going to go towards your purpose and you start seeing what else is possible when you're not constantly stuck in survival and stuck in pain. You start seeing, oh, wow, there's this whole scale of joy and love and connection and purpose. And what else, what could I accomplish in this lifetime if I'm not constantly sick and obsessing about what am I eating? How am I exercising? How am I sleeping? What do I say to this person, right? When you get on this journey, you have no idea where you're going to come out on the other end.
Or if you come out the other end, keep working on it, growing and healing, and then more things come out.
Okay, if you're listening to this and think, what if I never come out the other side? I want to speak to that for a second. From my experience, you usually do. But sometimes not in the way you imagined or not on the timeline you expected. But eventually, something shifts in a very profound way. And then suddenly, there is so much more ease in your system, more capacity to do bigger things, more aliveness, deeper relationships. The caveat is, this process often isn't linear, and sometimes it can feel endless while you're in it. But eventually, things do move. And most importantly, you don't have to do it alone. That's why this work matters so much to both of us. We've been there. We felt the pain. We felt stuck. But eventually, with the right support, we healed. And now we're here to support other women through their own healing. Belu, who are the women that you most usually work with?
I work with women victims of trauma, from sexual abuse to trauma in their relationships. Loads of women with autoimmune diseases, so obviously connected. And I haven't worked specifically with eating disorders, even though they come a lot. Most of the women with anorexia, bulimia, and all that, it comes from their moms, the wound. I work also with some men, also they've been through some trauma, but I feel more connected with women because, I feel it's easier with them to connect with their spirituality. They're very compassionate. They understand compassion easier than men. And working compassion, as you said before, is important, right? So you can forgive what you didn't have during childhood, or, you can forgive your parents, you can forgive yourself. So working with compassion and talking to yourself with compassion is a big part of my work. And this retreat that I'm hosting is a lot about holding your inner child, give your inner child space to talk, because your inner child was not able to do so. As we said before, it's just not going to be, wow, I'm going to this retreat, done for life. But I would like to wake up more people. I would like to wake up more women so they can start their own journey as I did. Because thanks to one of these retreats is how I started my healing journey. I gave myself the chance to go into the community with other women, and they were so advanced, these women. I was not, what is this? These people are being so rich, but I'll give it a go. And I gave it a go, and here I am 3 years later on my healing journey, loving it every moment. So I just would like to, just empower more women, because we've got loads of power they don't even know it. They just go into their masculine energy, and they just work with these men on these big offices, and they just work hard, and they try to become better than them. And they become aggressive when they talk, and they just...
And it's exhausting because we have the fraction of the testosterone that men have, and all this like accountability and responsibility and aggression. It requires testosterone. It's a very masculine energy. And I'm not saying we shouldn't do these things. Of course we all, but when we put all this yang doing energy in ourselves, it's exhausting for us because we don't have the biology, the neurology for it. We just don't.
Absolutely not. But this system is praising that energy. So we are all like, I want to become a CEO, and I want to achieve this and that. And the only way I feel the system is helping us to get there is through our masculine energy. However, we feel that's not in our nature. We still have to do it, because otherwise we might not make enough money. We might not achieve what we want to achieve. It's a bit challenging, this, because the system is telling us one thing, but we're trying to do the opposite.
Absolutely. It's all about balance.
And that's it. Balance really is key. You want to understand what's going on inside, and you want to pause and let the mind rest. You want to feel fully what's inside, and remember to go outside and enjoy life. Trauma is serious, and it needs to be met properly. And at the same time, it's important to not take life too seriously. I know that it can sound like a big paradox, but learning to hold both, that's the key. So here's my invitation. Don't try to figure this out on your own, because healing isn't about understanding yourself better. It's about learning how to be with yourself more deeply. And that's exactly how I help my clients, not just by giving them more concepts, but by walking with them through the process, helping them notice things that they've never seen before. Because it's one thing to understand the concept of blue, but until you see it with your own eyes, you don't really know blue. And if nobody's ever shown you blue before, you won't recognize it when you see it just from a description. So what I know for sure is this: real healing does not happen in isolation. Real repair happens when we feel safe in connection and genuine support. And that's what I'm here for. So if you're done trying to figure it out on your own and only finding yourself going in circles, reach out to me on Instagram at The Radiance Queen, or send me an email to claire@clairepoho.com. You'll find these in the show notes. That's it for today. Thank you for listening, and take it easy after this. With love, Claire.